All right, back to it now as we're going to dig deep into your health today. We spent a lot of time on your health today. We're going to start here with our next guest, Dr. Stephen Quay, a physician scientist with more than 380 published papers, 7 FDA-approved pharmaceuticals, over 12,000 citations across oncology, infectious disease, virology. Yeah, he's got street cred, to say the least. Doctor, thank you for being here.
It's great to be here, Steve.
All right, so I see a lot of people, especially politically motivated people, arguing about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. when it comes to vaccines. And I was doing some reading here about this compound. I want to start with this because I was just reading about this yesterday. Thimerosal, a mercury-based additive it's still in all of the flu vaccines. It's known to be dangerous. The people in labs won't even touch the stuff. They put it in special containers because they don't want to be too close to it because they feel it's dangerous. And yet, if you go get the flu shot today, this stuff's in there. This is just one thing that came, just one red flag to start my conversation with you, sir. What is this stuff? Why do we have this crap in our vaccines? Go ahead.
Well, it's a very well-established preservative that's used in materials when you can't sterilize them by standard means of high temperature. It has been studied pretty extensively, and the quantities are extremely small. Having said that, any mercury compound tends to accumulate in the body, so you don't really excrete it very well. So I believe it's time in 2025 to transition to better preservatives.
So
having said that,
you agree with me on that? Maybe it's not hurting somebody. Maybe it is. Nobody's quite sure. And if it accumulates and you get a flu shot every year, or maybe more than one, it builds up. Okay, what other concerns did I have? What about all of these vaccine conversations? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on the receiving end of a lot of criticism. Is it justified criticism? Is he in left field, or is he onto something?
So I think what he has done is he's created an opportunity for a conversation about the clinical trials that have been done to support vaccines. So as you said, I've invented 7 drugs that are FDA approved. And so the standards for safety and efficacy by the US FDA are the highest in the world. Other countries copy our efforts. So that, having said that, if you look at the clinical trial design studies and data for vaccines, they're not done in the same fashion. They're not placebo-controlled. They're not double-blind. So I think it would be quite interesting to begin to do some clinical trials in the vaccine space with modern design. I think when I look at the landscape of pediatric vaccines, where you're getting 17 or 18 shots by 10, you may get 70 to 80 shots by the time you're 21 emancipated. I think I would like to look at whether, one vaccine is safe and the other vaccine is safe, but if you give them both at the same time, do they happen to have some synergistic side effects that might be interesting to look at? So
I think that's reasonable. I'm
really doing my data.
And again, I'm going to go to your resume just for a moment. Received your MD and PhD at University of Michigan, trained at Harvard's Mass General, conducted postdoctoral research at MIT. I mean, when it comes to a resume, you're about as well papered as anybody we can talk to. And what you're telling me here, maybe Bobby Kennedy's right, maybe he's wrong, but it is a legitimate conversation to be having in 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. So with Jay Bhattacharya now running the National Institute of Health, fellow Stanford faculty member with me, he is going to create the opportunity through grant proposals and the like to do some of these cutting edge clinical trials in a lot of different areas, including the vaccine space. And so I'm quite interested to see those studies, the design of them, what kind of outputs they'll have. But we have a situation where, we went from having a few vaccines in the 50s and 60s to now having, as I'm repeating myself, up to 80 shots in a person from birth to age 21. Then we have parallel new epidemics.
Let me jump in there. I want to jump in there on one of those vaccines that's given when the child is born. That's a hepatitis B vaccine, correct? Given the day a child is born. And Bobby Kennedy's argument to that is, look, if you're not an intravenous drug user, if you're not having unprotected sex, and all the other things that lead to this particular disease, why are we giving this vaccine to newborns? I think that's a legitimate question. What say you?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, the thing that Secretary Kennedy didn't mention was that, we're taught in medical school that from birth to about 4 to 6 months, you do not have a robust immune system. The reason breastfed babies, do better with infectious diseases than non is because the breast milk has the antibodies of the mother. So she is transmitting her entire infectious disease resume to the baby during breastfeeding, which is missing, in a formula-fed baby. So, having said that, I'm not sure what immune system they're trying to stimulate by giving you a vaccine on day one. It has been shown to be effective, but it's in that very narrow population that you said, which is, and you have 9 months to figure out whether the mother's an IV drug user or abuser, or is exposed to hepatitis B. So that's one that I would be very interested in seeing, being placed in a different place in the overall schedule for vaccines.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of questions about what's in the shots themselves, be it aluminum, mercury like thimerosal, other ingredients that, like you said, if you have 60, 70, 80 shots, some of these things build up. I wouldn't recommend it for my child necessarily. Now, having said that, there are certain childhood vaccines that you probably support. Is that true?
That's absolutely right. I think one of the ones that rises to the top when you talk in those terms is the measles vaccine. So again, let's do a little teaching here. So the vaccines are designed to stop the transmission of diseases. Good nutrition, general health, getting sunlight is designed to change the severity of the infection. So we actually got rid of 90% of the lethal effect of infectious diseases before the first vaccine came about, from 1900 to 1950. 90% reduction in lethality, and that was due to nutrition, and overall health care. Having said that, the measles vaccine has a pretty high incidence of hospitalizations, residual CNS effects, so brain effects that you can have. So that's one where it's really useful. The challenge is that you need 95% levels in the community to prevent spread. It is the most transmissible virus we've ever seen, with what's called an R0 of 12 to 15, which means every child who gets infected will transmit it to 12 to 15 other children.
Right. A lot to learn out there when it comes to disease, but we need to keep studying. I think that there's a great conversation to have here. I think it's a legitimate conversation, and just demonizing Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for asking questions and challenging the status quo, I think is probably not a great place for some folks. That's my position. Look, I'm always about asking more questions and discussing it further. I got about 30 seconds for you to have the last word.
Okay, so I think one of the big conversations in the last week was mandates, and I think the answer there is to say there's a natural experiment in not having mandates. The United Kingdom, they have the same vaccines we have. They do not have mandates. Parents and doctors decide for themselves what's best, and they have the same overall infectious disease rate that we do.
So it's not killing people to let parents decide. That's what we needed to know. Doctor, I greatly appreciate you being here. You come back anytime. It's a teachable moment, and we need to have people be smarter. Not more vocal, but smarter. Dr. Quay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Take care, Steve.
We can continue talking about health throughout the rest of the morning here. We'll be back after this.